You ready to go?
Yeah, good. Ready.
All right, I gotta take a sip of big water first. Forgive me, I'm not home, so I don't have my own little, thermos. So he has this thing for me when I come over, and it's called Big Water, and I just, hydrate or dehydrate, everyone. I'm a slut for water.
Oh, right. I know.
All right, let's go. Okay. I'm from, what's the name? Sharpay.
High School Musical.
Oh, you get to be my, what was the name? It was played by Lucas Grabeel. That was the name, right? No.
I don't know actors and actresses.
What was his character's name in High School Musical?
Which one?
The gay dude.
Oh,
her brother.
Brett 3PO, we need a...
we need a High School Musical fact check, please. Ryan, that's who. Thank you, Brick 3PO, doing your job well. I'm not going to start this episode now. Welcome in, everyone. This is the Force Unscripted. We are going to be starting our part 2 for the Obi-Wan Kenobi season finale. So, Hunter, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, so we're starting off. I know we kind of jumped around last episode, back and forth between periods of Obi-Wan. That's going to happen this episode too. But the main focus of today's episode is going to be Obi-Wan after accepting Anakin as his Padawan up until the events of Order 66. I don't think we'll dive past much when it comes to, we'll probably stop around Mustafar. That sounds like a good stopping point. And, we'll just see how and where the show takes us. So, starting off, one thing that I loved about Legends was how much detail you get into Obi-Wan and Anakin's, missions during the Clone Wars and stuff, and the stuff that they do when Anakin is still, a very young Padawan. So one of my favorite moments, and this is one of the reasons why I'm sore that Disney canon kind of changed things. And what it was that Anakin and Barriss have an interaction with each other while Barriss is on a mission with Luminara and Anakin is on a mission with Obi-Wan, and they're on this planet that you learn is the focal point of Palpatine's grand scheme. So so basically the long story short is that this planet is in such a weird area of space where it's leaning more towards separatist values, but it's still a part of the Republic. And Palpatine has discovered that it is in such a unique niche position that turmoil there will set off a cascade of events that will give the separatist movement its shove to get started. And Anakin, of course, is somehow drawn to the heart of Palpatine's plan, which is so funny because that happens a lot in Legends, where Anakin is just happened to be brought into Palpatine's plot with Outbound Flight. Anakin just happens to show up in that, and it's funny because he is at this focal point. And though Palpatine is successful in the end, that planet does turn separatist and they fail their mission, but they go through this stuff, and Anakin and Obi-Wan have their strifes, and then Anakin and Barriss go off and do their reconnaissance for the mission, and Obi-Wan and Luminara talk, and it's so funny because you get to see Luminara, who's had plenty of Padawans, right? Mm-hmm. And then talking to Obi-Wan, he's just he's this new dad, and he's like, is it always like this? And Luminara is just yeah, kind of. You gotta kind of work them, a little bit to get them to do what's right and what a proper Jedi should. But yeah, they're a lot of them are like this. But yours is a special type of crazy. That's chosen one crazy.
He got that. I don't know what in him.
That dog.
That dog.
He got that dog.
He got that dog in him. Yeah.
That's I forget what episode. When I was talking about Zenoma Seacott, the living planet. Mm-hmm. That's another story that I really like because that is the first instance that we know of, at least in Legends timeline. I'm not sure how Disney changed their relationship, but in Legends timeline, Anakin, as we know, gets a bunch of seeds on him because that means his ship's because he's he's the chosen one. So
the Force.
So the Force ship that he would make is gonna be just inherently badass, right? But there's like a fight because the invaders, which we find out later, the Yuuzhan Vong come, and Anakin gets angry. And this is the first time that Obi-Wan sees Anakin kind of change in front of him. Like, he gets angry, and he's like, he's powerful. Even as a kid, he's powerful. And it sort of changes how, like, he's like, yes, he's the chosen one, but he's also capable of, like, great destruction. It's like a Vader flash. Like, he sees it. And I just think that is so important, because there are so many times. That's why I say I think Obi-Wan's love for Anakin truly was his downfall, because he lets him slide with so much that anyone else should have just immediately reported to the council.
See, the thing is, like, right, most of the people who take, like, Padawans, they're, like, a little older, like Jedi Knight, but, like, Obi-Wan was still a Padawan when he took on Anakin as his Padawan. Like, the day he became a Knight, he also got a Padawan. And, like, he was still in that, he was, like, 19. Like, he was in that, like, older brother phase. Like, you know, you let your sibling do what they want, come over to your place, trash it, have a party, that kind of thing. And you're like, no, Mom and Dad, they were at, you know.
Okay, so question for you from that, then. Do you think that is because of who Obi-Wan is as a person, the fact that he is a teenager in that state, some combination of both, or because of Qui-Gon? Or some combination of all of those?
I don't think Qui-Gon really factors into it. I think it's just, like, that developmental stage of, like, being a person. Like, you're in that, like, rebellious, I'm just now getting on my own, I've just become a knight, like, I'm kind of the and then, like, now you have to train this kid, and you're like, okay, I can either be a hard ass and, like, make him hate me, or I could be the cool older brother and, like, let him chill and do what he wants.
So do you think he was trying to imitate Qui-Gon?
No, I don't think, like, yes, Qui-Gon had a big influence on him, but I don't think Qui-Gon, at this point, I don't think Qui-Gon is really factoring into this. I think it's...
Are you sure?
Like, okay...
How can you say that when this is his master's dying wish?
Right, okay, but we talked about last episode how, like, Obi-Wan, after his master died, really, like, went onto the, like, straight and narrow as his, like, views as a Jedi. Like, he really followed the dogma, basically, right? But then he was lenient with Anakin because he was, like, wants to be that chill older brother. He doesn't want Anakin to go to the dark side. He's afraid of that, right? Mm-hmm. He knows he has the power, and he's training him late. So he's like, if I'm the cool dude and, like, make everything, like, the Jedi seem, like, cool, let him, like, do his thing, not really, like, get on him, maybe that'll keep him from going to the dark side instead of being, like, forced to be like, this is what you have to do, this is who you have to be, whatnot. Like, maybe Obi-Wan thought if he let Anakin kind of bend the rules a little bit, he wouldn't go lean more towards the dark side, because typically they train children from, like, age 6 or whatever, like, really young, where you can impress on them, you have to follow this, like, you have to be this kind of person or whatnot, and that'll stick with them. But Anakin's older, so he already has his, like, rebellious, you know, stage going, right? So if you then take that kid and you say, no, you can't do any of the things that you want to do, you have to be like this perfect child, A+ all the time, right? You know what happens, right? Like,
yeah.
So Obi-Wan's like, okay, instead of, like, forcing him to be the person we want him to be, I'm gonna let him get to that point, like, on his own by being that, like, chill older brother that he can come to and, like, get guidance from, that kind of thing. But it backfires because then Obi-Wan himself grows an attachment for Anakin because he's like, this is more like a family member rather than, like, somebody that I'm really training. He didn't have that experience, again, because he's literally, like, 19 when they start training. They're family at that point.
And, you know, it's a testament to that relationship that Obi-Wan had with Anakin. What you see in the Clone Wars, especially in Legends Timeline, we see it in the Clone Wars series, but they became he was like a dad brother. He was like an uncle. I don't even know how to, all of them, all three at once. And, like, I said, I was in the last episode, I said I was going to talk about this. Like, what I love about the novelization of Episode 3 is the fact that Matt Stover does an amazing job at basically saying these are two beings that are linked like one. They are brothers in every aspect. One has the other, no matter what happens. And then he has, like, every couple of section, he has, like, a beginning part of the chapter that's, if the chapter is about Obi-Wan, it's a little bit about Obi-Wan and himself. If it's about Anakin, it's a little bit about Anakin himself. But every now and then he has one about their relationship. And you see, he opens the book about talking about how this is one person, just two bodies, like, all that kind of stuff. And then at the end, you just see how it all goes to ruin. And Matt Stover I love Matt Stover's, like, artistic style when it comes to Star Wars books, because he's, like, I call him the dude bro writer, because he talks about all of those, like, fight scenes, lightsaber combat that you want to see. That's why I love his book about the Shadows of Mindor. That's why I love his addition to the New Jedi Order when he wrote that book about Jason. And that was fantastic. And then I love Shatterpoint, obviously. And so when I found out that he did the novelization of of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and it's funny because I read those other 3 books before I read the novels, because when I was young, I used to be like, well, I don't really need to read the movies as books, but I'm so glad I did, because finding out about that Anakin Obi-Wan relationship is what spurred me to go back and read the stuff about them in the Clone Wars. Like, there's one book. It's a 2-book series. I think it's one of the Kierans. I think it's Travis. It's called Star Wars, the Clone Wars, Gambit and Siege, and it's about Obi-Wan and Anakin going to this one planet and like sneaking into a compound, getting into like the intricacies of like local skirmishes and stuff with separatist like droids and stuff, and then they end up going to like a camp and like they siege the camp, and Obi-Wan is forced to learn how to like force heal people because of stress, and like they don't sleep for like 4 days. Like, this is like the black op of like Obi-Wan and Anakin, and you're like, man, these homies kind of cool. Like, this is the duo. Like, that's like the first real book where I saw that, and I love their relationship because it goes from one of like tutelage, and then it slowly turns into like the rolling eyes, like, I don't know why you're doing this, you know better, and then it goes to like, yeah, dude, we're dude bros, let's go kill some separatists, like. But yeah, there was one thing that I really loved about Legends. I know that there is one book that I'm excited to read about in Disney canon. It's called Brotherhood, and it's by, I think it's Mike Chin. That's going to be one of the ones that I kind of want to read in the beginning because it's about Obi-Wan and Anakin. I want to see if anything changes, because the thing about the novelizations is that they're canon between both timelines. So like, the movie novelization is good for Legends and it's good for canon.
That makes sense, because I mean, the movies are still the movies. It doesn't make sense to non-canonize those,
Yeah, so I want to see if they change the dynamic beforehand, because if you think about cinematics, see Anakin in episode 2 and then going to episode 3, if you just watch it, you're like, what the happened?
Yeah. Like, okay, they're in maybe this was still in 2. Maybe it was. But they're like in the elevator talking about like, that time on whatever doesn't count or whatever. I was like, show me that.
Yeah, that was episode 3.
Give me the flashback.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so you're just like, how did Anakin, like, what happened? Like, can you like give us...
All of a sudden, he's a stud.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he just skipped the awkward phase somewhat, I guess. But then you watch the Clone Wars and like Rebels and all this stuff, and you're just like... And it's just like, it's great. I love it.
One of the few books that I remember from, like, the Clone Wars era was the one where Yaddle dies.
I might not have read that one.
Okay, so...
Is that Dark Rendezvous?
I don't know the name. I read these when I was, like, a little kid, right? I don't remember a lot of them, but I do remember that one because... And like, in Tales of the Jedi now, we have, like, Dooku kills Yaddle by, like, crushing her. It was crazy. But in Legends, Yaddle died taking a nuke that would have killed Anakin and Obi-Wan, and she took the nuke to save the Chosen One. And I always thought that, like, that sacrifice was, like, totally, like, wasted for her, obviously because he goes to the dark side. So they're in a city or something. I have, like, vague details about what happened that I remember. But okay. There's a bomb that's gonna go off, and Yaddle basically...
Like a Baradian bomb?
Like a huge-ass bomb, yeah. Like, gonna level the city, they're all gonna die, and they can't get out. Like, they don't have time. And Yaddle takes the bomb and, like, jumps up high into the air and, like, uses the Force to enclose the explosion around herself and dies. Like, it explodes, kills her, and her, like, reasoning, she, like, told Anakin was, like, or, like, was thinking to herself, like, I'm gonna save the Chosen One by taking this and sacrificing myself. And then Anakin goes on later to destroy the whole order and everything, and I was like, damn, Yaddle, you really, like...
Yaddle, I guess. Jeez.
Yeah.
I never knew. You know what? I admit there's a lot of
a lot of
content that I don't know. I do not remember this. I want to.
It was
find
one
out.
of those like the smaller books, like almost like the kids like books about.
Oh, that might be because was it? Do you know if it was a young adult novel or not?
It was probably a young adult one, yeah.
Oh, see,
and
that
Yaddle
might
just
be
takes a bomb. Like that was wild for a kid to read.
I'm gonna have to find that. That sounds awesome. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah. It's insane.
And you know what? I actually can't think of moments in Legends timeline outside of that where people are that diehard for Anakin.
Right? Like she really got on the train and then like the train derailed. You know, like
now I will say in Legends timeline, like, and I guess it's the will of the Force because he's Force Jesus, but Anakin gets Deus Ex Forcina so much. Like, there are situations where you're just like, yeah, he's for sure dead, right? And you're just like, well, no, Episode 3 exists, so
right. Like, we know he doesn't die, so we just, how are you gonna die? How's the separatist leader or whatever gonna get murdered this time or outplayed or whatever?
I will say they do a good job at like plot twists when it comes to stuff that, well, I can't say Anakin because it's not Anakin doing it, it's Vader, but there be some plot twists. You'd be like, so how does he get out of this? Oh, he doesn't. But you never see that with like Anakin. You never see him in such dire straits that he never gets out. But he's in those situations.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like against Cad Bane, and like Ahsoka rescues him from like, you're like, he could be dead right here, but we know he's not, so how's he gonna get saved?
Aura Singh comes up in Legends a lot, by the way. When I finally my first thought when I first saw Aura Singh as like a Clone Wars character, I said, this ugly.
She was ugly in Legends.
But I don't remember a description of her. Like, I remember they saying, like, pale skin and, like...
She's in Episode 1. She's in The Phantom Menace.
See, I didn't even know that now.
During the pod race, she's up on a cliff with a rifle. Like, the Tusken Raiders are there, like, around, and there's just, like, a little clip, like, very small snippet of her up there in The Phantom Menace.
I never knew that. Well, I guess when I watched it, I didn't know, and then I read the books, because when that movie came out, I was, like, 8.
Yeah, I've gone back after, like, learning who she is because of the Boba Fett series. Also, I think the little novels, the young adult ones. There's a whole, like, section of them about Boba Fett and a bunch of his adventures, kind of like they do in the Clone Wars cartoon.
I see.
And Aura Singh is in that, like, a big part of it, because she's kind of like his mentor-ish.
Oh, right, because
she's like his guardian almost. And so, like, when I went back and saw The Phantom Menace, I was like, oh, that's her.
Oh, I just got some information. So, according to Brick 3PO, Star Wars Jedi Quest: The Shadow Trap book 6 is the book with Yaddle. So, I'm gonna have to go check that out. I have one of the Jedi Quest books, but I only have one. I didn't know there was more than... Okay. But the thing is, I don't really read much of the young adult stuff. I'll do it because
just go read the summary on like Wikipedia or something. Like, you don't have to read the whole thing. Just like get the gist of the story. But yeah, like Yaddle takes a nuke.
That's pretty cool. I'm trying to think of, because Obi-Wan has definitely done stuff to like, look, Anakin, I'm going to give, like, if this happens, I'm going to give my life to save you, get away. And of course Anakin's like, nah, I'm sticking with you. Fights him tooth and nail every time. And that's one thing that I really liked about it, is because those are the moments where Obi-Wan goes, Master, I'm so sorry. Like, I remember us having stuff like this. Like, I'm so sorry that I ever gave you any kind of stress. I'm so, like, this is the worst. It has come back to me sevenfold. Please help. And as we know, Qui-Gon never shows up for help.
But he's just sitting there watching, like, he's there, he's watching, he's like, nah, you got this, you're on your own, fool. This is what you were like, imagine.
He definitely gets his just desserts. It's refreshing to see, because like he knows what's happening and he's like, God damn it. It's like, what better just desserts than to have the dying wish of your master come back to bite you in the ass the same way you got your master. Like, it's beautiful irony.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, like, Obi-Wan was probably questioning Qui-Gon at every turn, because Obi-Wan's like, we gotta follow the rules, and Qui-Gon's like, rules.
What is your favorite Anakin Obi-Wan moment from that era?
I love all... Oh, okay. The siege... I don't remember the episodes or whatever, or the planet that they were on, but Obi-Wan's, like, trapped on in the Clone Wars cartoon. Obi-Wan is, like, trapped on the bridge with Cody and the rest of them, and they're getting, like, pushed by the battle droids, and Anakin like pulls up and he's like walks out and he's like, I surrender.
Oh yes, I know what you're talking about.
And then like Rex and everyone comes out with jetpacks and everything, and they like, wreck shop, and Obi-Wan's just like, Anakin, like...
Oh man, I'm trying to think of what you know what, in all honesty, my favorite Obi-Wan and Anakin interaction is the Mustafar fight.
Really?
Yes, because knowing all that I know, knowing how it started, what their adventures were like, and like I see it this way regardless if we're talking about Legends or canon. You see how it starts, know that it's a dying wish of his master. You see their relationship form. Yes, it's rocky all the way through, but they always somehow meet in the middle and continue forward, growing, becoming like the brother, uncle, dad combo that they are. I don't know how to describe it, but getting so close and then seeing everything go absolutely wrong. Everything is misunderstood. Everything just kind of devolves into chaos to where the one soul, two bodies thing comes to two souls clashing against each other. It's just...
And all because of one closeted gay pedoman.
All because of the world's most evil, galaxy-brained, homosexual man that we know, Sheev Palpatine. Yes, exactly. You see the downfall of the brothers, and I think that's my favorite interaction between them, because it's like, I don't want to say a period or like a comma. It's like a semicolon. It's like a statement. And the brothers, like think about like the brothers ended, and then there's a semicolon, but like student would kill master. Like it's like the semicolon in their relationship, because, well, we find out that it's not the next time that they meet, but like in the final time that they meet, you know, Vader kills Obi-Wan. Right. So I think that I love the symbolism and all that junk, the poeticism of Star Wars.
I like the Mustafar fight because at the beginning it's Obi-Wan trying to bring Anakin back. Like at the beginning of the fight, it's Obi-Wan trying to get through to Anakin that he's gone too far, this needs to stop, but still not wanting to destroy him, as he told Yoda. He's like, I can't kill him, I can't do it. But then Yoda's like, yeah, but you're not strong enough to fight Palps, so guess you stuck with this job. That's why we made you master. But then he tries to get through to Anakin, and like throughout the fight you can see him wavering. There's a couple points in the fight where he had the opportunity to take Anakin out, and he pauses just a little bit, or like Anakin is able to pull his lightsaber back to him just in time to block an attack or whatever. And you see Obi-Wan's face like going from like, I'm trying to get through to you, to like, I have to do this. Mm-hmm. And then finally at the end, you know, he sees the opportunity. He knows what Anakin's going to do, because Anakin wants to prove that he's better than Obi-Wan. He wants to pull the maul on Obi-Wan, but he can't because Obi-Wan's built different. And so Obi-Wan is like, don't do it. I know how this is going to end. You're going to get wrecked. And what do you know? He does it, and all of a sudden he's a pocket.
I didn't see that one coming. Your mom would be so disappointed. Oh man, you know what? I know it's ahead of timeline wise of this part 2, but one thing that I loved about the Kenobi series, is how they go into some of Anakin and Obi-Wan's training together, where you're seeing him chiding for the lessons that lead to his, like, right, the symbolism between, or the comparison and parallels between that moment and their final fight and when they meet again and all that kind of stuff. I love their relationship. I think as far as a relationship goes, and not even just romantic, that Obi-Wan and Anakin is like the number 2 relationship of all time, in my opinion, for Star Wars. Okay. I think my number 1 is always going to be Luke and Mara. I don't care what anyone says.
Okay, that's fair.
Then Obi-Wan and Anakin, and then the third one is Han and Leia. Like, I think that those are like the power pairings. Like, just like the first and the third one happen to be couples, but I think regardless of if they were together or not, they would still be that duo. You know.
One of my favorite pairs is actually Ordo and Bethany, but that's like for a different time, you know.
He will mention Karen Travis's books at every turn. Karen Travis, if you ever listen to this podcast, please know that he is your biggest fan and has learned an entire language because of you. Say something Mandalorian for the crowd.
Evore.
Thank you. Can you say something a little bit longer?
I need no. Okay. I need prep for that.
Karen Travis, he is bad under pressure.
I'm sorry.
You will be. But yeah, no, it's just definitely my favorite one of my favorite relationships because it goes full circle, in my opinion, in a way that a lot of things don't go. Like, normally when, like, at least the tropes that I've seen, when you're in, like, an Anakin Obi-Wan situation, and then Obi-Wan lets Anakin get away, and then the next time they meet, normally, like, it's not a span of 20 years,
right.
And normally the good guy wins. But it's funny to see that, like, Luke knows Obi-Wan for all of, like, a hyperspace transit, and then has to watch him, like...
But he doesn't know him for all... He knows him as Obi-Wan for all of a hyperspace transit, but he's known Ben Kenobi his whole life.
That's true, but I'm saying, like... And then he sees him, like, knowing all of this, and not knowing that that's his daddy, like, he has to watch all of that, and it's just... I loved Obi-Wan, Anakin, and then, of course, what we'll talk about next week, which is Obi-Wan Vader, because that's the phase that we're going into. It's just...
Palpatine pisses me off. The way that Anakin, like, just full on... The fear, like, just takes him. It always bothers me because, like, Obi-Wan's your bro. Like, this whole... Like we were saying, like, Obi-Wan was lenient. Let him, like, you know, just talk to your bro a little bit. Like, why are you listening to this old creepy dude who's, like, in charge of the whole galaxy? Like, maybe go talk to a therapist other than frickin' Yoda, who's also an old creepy dude.
That's one of the things I struggled with, honestly. Especially when I was younger, watching episode 2 going into episode 3. I did not understand. It did not make sense to me in my head. And like, Anakin, why are you doing, like, this does not make any sense. Like, I know you're a horny teenager being tempted by the dark side, but this makes no sense to me. And I guess that's a testament to two things. One, the allure of the dark side and how emotions play into that. And two, how strong of a person Obi-Wan is. Because we talked about last episode, and as you mentioned, you know, he has to go through it a lot, and he deals with it. He gets his shit done. But despite all of that, despite it coming to a head in, like, episode 3, when he has to maim his brother, you're just like, damn it, you never went to the dark side for real? He's like, yeah, I'm just in the desert chilling. Like, my hippie teacher kind of finally hit me up after ghosting me, no pun intended, and then was like, yo, let me show you how to vibe in the Force. And so it happens.
He's like, took you long enough. Like, yeah. So the reason, like, I think Obi-Wan didn't obviously go to the dark side is he was so focused on following, like, the temple's teachings, right? I know, like, even if he was a little more, you know, loose in his rule, you know, following like Qui-Gon was, I don't think he would have gone to the dark side. He does follow the teachings really well, really closely, and he, like, is able to meditate and let go. I think in training Anakin, he learns about letting go. Because, I mean, we see the fight versus Maul. When he kills Maul, it's out of anger. You can see, like, his it's not like he's being calm and taking him out. He's pissed that, you know, his master just died, and he just lets in the Force a little bit, is able to, like, pull his lightsaber to himself and get that jump over Maul. But he's mad, and he totally could have stayed mad, you know?
Stay mad.
But he does. He lets go of his emotions, his feelings. Like, again, like, his feelings for Satine, he's able to get past those. Even though, like, he reminisces on what could have been, he doesn't let it, like, consume him. He's not like, I missed out on the best opportunity of my life, like, this is gonna ruin me, blah, 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 like, I should have done this. He doesn't let those, like, what-ifs, you know, rule him. Until he maims Anakin, and we'll get into that next episode, but he doesn't let those feelings rule him or you know, affect him very much until he does have to do something to a family member that is, I mean, you know, his family, it's awful. You would never want to do that to someone that you treated like your brother or sister for so long, and then all of a sudden in a short span of time, he just flips a switch and he's killing kids left and right. I mean, that's obviously insane.
So, one thing that I'm going to mention, I'm going to need a fact check from you, Brick 3PO. Do you know about Obi-Wan's love interest in Legends and how things... Okay, so I'm going to need a fact check on the name, but basically there was his love interest that he had, and she was also a Jedi. And and I forget what book I was reading. It's one of it might be one of Travis's books, but it's definitely during the Clone Wars. And, like, he's in the temple, and she's sick. She has some sickness that is just gonna kill her. And so she's, like, temple bound. She goes to see Obi-Wan when he's, like, in between a mission. Like, he just comes back from a mission. and they sleep together one night. When he wakes up, she has passed on in the Force. She's like body gone. Like only her clothes remain. And like that, so I didn't know about Satine, but she fades away into the Force. And I was like, I remember reading that story and I was like, damn, Obi-Wan, that's crazy. But then finding out about Satine is, I feel like a lot much like worse, because at least he knew like she faded into the Force. But with Satine, he had to watch his like arch nemesis like stab her with the darksaber, like
yep,
the sword of her people at that.
Like, it's a really messed up, like, what happened to her. Like, Obi-Wan's story is really f***ed up. Like,
yeah,
losing his master, losing Satine, losing Anakin, like, watching Padme die right in front of him after giving birth to the Chosen One's children, basically his, like, niece and nephew.
Yeah.
Like, all this horror, and he had to watch his brother on the hologram killing the younglings.
Oh, man.
Like,
that has to hurt as a master, too, because, like, you learn to love those people. Like, right. He only had Anakin, but still.
I mean, any master is going to be, for instance, when, the guy who saved Grogu, Kelleran.
Yes, okay, I'm sorry, I could not think of his name.
So, when Kelleran saves Grogu, and then he gets to the Naboo, like, passenger ship, the one that they escape on, like, they're like, what about the others? And you can see, like, just, even though he says it, like, kind of monotonously, like, you can see how much it hurts him, even though, like, they're not his Padawans or anything like that. He's like, there are no others. Like, that's messed up. And Obi-Wan had to watch what happened to them, because nobody else was in that room. Just the younglings and Anakin. So, like, nobody else saw what really happened to them. They just know they're gone, and or the clones killed them.
Yeah, Order 66 was a and a half. But, and I think that's what makes it, like, really tragic in the end, is that none of them saw it coming. Except Yoda. Yoda saw it coming.
Right.
Somehow. I guess that, well, I know why, but, like, the scene is powerful when you see him cringe in pain.
Yeah.
From the loss of, like, what he saw is, like, he drops his Geimer stick. No more weed for him. He's like, oh, But none of them were expecting it. I mean, like, you see a bunch of stories in the media now and in the books of, like, them being like, oh, what's up, clones, and getting gunned down. Like,
right. They're like, they go up to them, they're like, something's happening, something's wrong, and then the clones are like, we're happening.
we're what's wrong.
Yeah. I do think, we were talking about, like, the very quick transition, like, what could make him, other than, Paps being a creepy, weird old man, he was having those nightmares about Padme.
Mm-hmm.
And we only see the nightmare maybe, like, once or twice, but he was having those every single night. And, like, was waking up, cold sweats, seeing the same vision over and over again of Padme dying. And, like, nightmares will mess you up. And if you're not getting sleep, like, you're losing sleep because of the same nightmare of the person you love the most in the world or in the universe, like, dying, it's really gonna mess with you. Even, like, the girlfriend and boyfriend, like, she wakes up and she's like, I had a dream about you cheating on me. Like, that's gonna, mess her day up, like, her whole day. Imagine every single day you watch the love of your life die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really gotta, that definitely pushed him. And I think they should have leaned on that a little bit more. Like, he's not getting sleep. He's waking up every night in cold sweats, like, being comforted by Padme, but still, like, processing that dream every day, thinking about it, letting it play over and over in his head. And then Palps is like, I know about your nightmares. I can make them go away. And he's like, whatever you have to do. Mm-hmm. Like, please, just make it stop. Help me save her. And he's like, yo, you gotta kill the little kids. And Anakin's like,
poor kids.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? And I find that as a simp, as a self-declared simp myself, I absolutely understand Anakin, and I don't blame you. I probably would have done the same thing, but I think if my Obi-Wan's, like, whatever my life's Obi-Wan equivalent is, would be able to pull me back. I feel like Anakin, I don't know, in my head, I've always thought Anakin should have come back. He should have been like, Obi-Wan has never pleaded with me like this and lied just flat out to my face. Like, he is obviously in distress and concerned about me. I'm doing something wrong. Like, that's the type of person I am. But I guess the high from the sudden, like, oh, look, I'm finna slaughter some, everyone just going ham, and that rush just him.
Yeah, it's like when you're playing, like, a video game or something, and you go ham and, like, you get an ace or something and leave, like, you feel like you're on top of the world, right? Like, you're like, I'm the best, like, I'm the this is awesome. He just killed everybody. He's like, I just beat every single Jedi. All the Jedi who wouldn't let me be a master, who shunned me basically for being the chosen one, didn't want, like everybody was critical of him, and he's like, guess what? Get
it's the ultimate get back, honestly. Imagine like living your life doing what you think is normal and putting regular boundaries on a person, and then turning out to be Force Jesus and being like, you. Yeah. Like, imagine you by Jesus. Like, what kind of an ending is that?
I mean, in the end, Jesus got fucked by the rules. The rules being Obi-Wan.
Well, technically, Vader got fucked by the rules. Balance. He had to use big bad, and it was time for big good to come in. So gotta go. True. That's about all I really have from that period. Though that period has a lot of different adventures. A lot of the themes remain the same. It's
basically, yeah. A lot of it is Obi-Wan and Anakin going on a mission or whatever, or Ahsoka and them or whatever, and then Anakin bends the rules or does something unconventional, and Obi-Wan says, Anakin. And then, we move on. It's like, it's the recurring, like, gag, right? And eventually it, comes to, Anakin, you f***ed up. And now I gotta get rid of you. That's most of what the Clone Wars is. Like, it's Anakin being unconventional, Anakin being more powerful, Anakin meeting the next foe and outsmarting them. It's Anakin always being better than everyone. Even like when he fights Barriss in the temple. I mean, that's a very interesting fight when he fights her in the temple.
Yeah.
He really beats down on Barriss. He's mad. You can see it. And everyone around him can see it too. When the temple, what are they called? The temple guards?
The temple, yeah.
When they come in, I'm like, are they going to go for Anakin or Barriss here? Because they don't know the context. Yeah. They just see the red lightsabers. But yeah, like, the progression is Anakin bending the rules, bending them more. For instance, the time where it's like, who will brand themselves as a murderer? And Anakin's just like...
I love that Clone Wars scene.
He's like, I'll do it. It's fine, And of course, Obi-Wan says, Anakin.
Yeah, that's what happens when you let the one you love get away with murder. Literally. But yeah, I do have one last question before we close things out. How do you think Obi-Wan saw Ahsoka, knowing what we know about his relationship with Anakin? And do you think that Ahsoka and Obi-Wan ever saw each other after Order 66?
No, I don't think they ever saw each other. Obi-Wan did not leave Tatooine except for maybe the one or two times where he went, like, for instance, in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, where he goes to help Leia. But I don't think... At that point, Obi-Wan is not Master Kenobi anymore. He's just Ben Kenobi.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka was not even considering herself a Jedi. She's, like, doing her own thing, staying outside the radar, until like Rebels comes along and she's participating and whatnot, but they never met. Only what's his face from the Ahsoka, the one they're rescuing, what's his face, the Jedi from Rebels.
Oh, Ezra,
yeah. Only Ezra is the one that meets up with Obi-Wan, and I don't even think he mentions that to Ahsoka. I don't think they saw each other after that at that point.
So, is there potential to maybe find out... I mean, this is more stuff for next episode, but, like, do you think there's potential to find out, like, if they do meet after? Because, I mean, technically, with how Disney has gone, we don't know.
If she...
Like, Legends for sure know, but...
If she meets him at all, it's going to be his ghost, I think.
Ooh. How do you think about that?
I think it'll be... So... This is for next episode. Yeah. I have thoughts.
But yeah. The question that is relative to this one is, how do you think Obi-Wan felt about Ahsoka?
So, I think he sees Ahsoka as the kind of like, I told you so for Anakin. He thinks it's going to help Anakin become more like him. Because when he taught Anakin, he became more of a knight. He became better as a knight. He, originally he was very critical of Qui-Gon and whatnot, but becoming a Jedi Knight and becoming a master to Anakin helped him grow as a Jedi, helped him be more, not lenient, but like in tune with the Force and peace and whatnot. And I think he was hoping that Ahsoka would be that for Anakin. But in reality, it became one of the catalysts for why Anakin turned away from the Jedi, because Barriss, puts the blame on her for the bombing of the temple. And Obi-Wan doesn't, as far as I remember, doesn't really defend her, right? And so I don't think he sees her as like Anakin 2.0. I think he sees her as like a lesson for Anakin, and a lesson that he failed at, I mean, I feel like Obi-Wan thinks he kind of failed on Ahsoka's part a little bit. The interactions between them, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, after she leaves the temple are few and far between, and when they are, it's Ahsoka being like, why aren't you helping me with the Siege of Mandalore? Screw you. Oh, you gotta go back and rescue your stupid Chancellor. You know, that kind of thing. And there's very little interaction. Anakin's the one that talks to her. So I think he's more distanced himself from that relationship, because I think he thinks it was a failure.
Yeah, it's funny to try to see him give Anakin the treatment that he got from Anakin that he gave to Qui-Gon. Like it's like a little cat. I love that little Force tree in the Force family. Like because that makes me wonder. Do you think Dooku was like that to Qui-Gon, knowing what we know about how Dooku was before he saw the folly of the Jedi?
Well, you know, we saw in the Tales of the Jedi how Dooku was.
He was strict, right?
He was strict, and he also went off the rails. And Qui-Gon pulled him back. They were stopping like a rebellion, and they realized they were sent to stop a rebellion. They realized that the rebels are in the right, and like the soldiers or whatever.
Oh, I remember now. Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And
okay.
Dooku flips a switch, and he's like, "Y'all are done. Like, I'm gonna kill all of you." And Qui-Gon is like, "Master, this isn't the Jedi way." Like that kind of thing. I think Qui-Gon was like a little more chill after that. Like after Dooku left, because Dooku was very
hard. That's why he would have turned Obi-Wan to the dark side if he was.
Oh yeah,
Obi-Wan's
Dooku.
And we found out he was curious about Obi-Wan too. He wanted to know about him.
And I mean, we see in Attack of the Clones, he tells Obi-Wan like, "Join me. You know, together we can overthrow the Sith." Because I mean, really, in the end, Dooku just wants power. He doesn't really care how he has to get it. He just wants the power to be in charge and to make the rules, and so he can, you know, put all the aliens in concentration camps.
Wait, he was a xenophobe too? Oh, yes, he absolutely was. Okay, no, I'm sorry. I don't even know why I hesitated on that. I remember immediately. Because one of the things that I think is absolutely hilarious is when Obi-Wan and Anakin are on the ship trying to rescue the Chancellor. Like, when Anakin cuts off his hands.
He's like, "I'm a cripple."
Yeah, his first thought is, "I'm a cripple." Like, nah, I'm about to die. Like, it's hilarious. But that has been our second part to the Obi-Wan Kenobi season finale. Thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Be sure to follow us on all major podcasting platforms at The Force Unscripted. Follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Force Unscripted, the same way it's spelled for the podcast. But until next time, peace out, Girl Scouts. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you all on the finale of the finale, our Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 3. Catch you guys later.